get $2, get $2 out of it.
All right. Put in new business. He's always that way.
He won't let you sing on the radio, I'll have to sing on the radio.
I know it's, just a couple minutes early, but I'm gonna go ahead and call the, February 9th, 2021, school board meeting to order. The opening session moment of silence will be led by Wayne Taylor. Pledge of allegiance will be led by Larry Livingston.
Join me, if you will, in a moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, we have approval of the minutes of the January 12, 2021 board meeting. Those minutes were supplied in your packet. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ricky Dodson, a second by Mr. Wayne Taylor. Any discussion on this? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 5, additions or deletions to the proposed agenda. Does anybody have anything that needs to be added or subtracted? Then on to number 6, approval of the February 9th, 2021 meeting agenda. The original agenda that was sent out, there was one item inadvertently left off. You should have got that in a separate envelope or email, however you're communicated with. And that'll be number 2 on executive action items. So, is there a motion to approve this agenda?
I move we approve this agenda.
Motion by Mr. Mitchell Stonecipher. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mike Gilpatrick. No further discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. On to the executive action items. Number 1, consider interim director of schools contract. That was supplied in your packet. We have a motion to approve that contract.
Second.
Motion by Ricky Dodson, second by Mitchell Stonecipher. Any discussion?
Does, Dr. Holman have any issues with this?
We are, his salary is gonna be comparable to the previous director.
It will be comparable, yes. It's not an exact, but it is comparable. That's the recommendation from Mr. Cagle, our attorney. Mr. Holman and myself and Mr. Cagle were in correspondence with the action taken by the board in this contract. It's does not have any performance evaluators on it because Mr. Cagle's recommendation, there should be none. It'd be hard to go by performance standards in a short amount of time. You know, the time may lapse before the standards can be met. So insurance, things we already carry on Dr. Holman. Any other questions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number two, consider the FFCRA COVID-19 local extension. Like I said earlier, this was only a change from your original agenda that was sent out. Dr. Holman, if you would please explain that
Okay.
to the board.
The FFCRA stands for Family First Coronavirus Relief Act. And, at the beginning of the year, the, teachers and staff got 10 days of, coronavirus days that they could use, and it didn't count from their sick days. So if they were quarantined or tested positive, they had 10 days they could use. That ended at the end of the year, on, December 31st. But what this would do would extend that to March 31st, is what that would do. And now that won't give someone 10 additional days. That will ensure that everyone does get 10 days altogether, 10 days altogether. I sure don't want there to be any misunderstanding there. So if you used your 10 days prior to Christmas, you might say, then that's your 10 days. But if you haven't, for instance, like I haven't, many others haven't, I would still have an opportunity to use those 10 days if I were quarantined. I think that's a really good gesture on the part of the board to do that.
I think that's fair.
But through March 31st.
Well, and I do feel that if we're telling people that they have to go home and they have to quarantine, that we should at least be paying them for that. I mean, I know there are several people that might have been in contact with several different people, but if we're saying, hey, you have to go home, you have to quarantine, I feel that the school system should pay for those people. I know with the teachers, they can go, and we have set it up where they can still do stuff at home while they're quarantined, where they can send emails,
Right.
record classes and everything, but our paraprofessionals, if they're at home, there's no cooking a hamburger for the students when
You're
you're,
exactly
on quarantine.
And is there any way we can find out also, when the health department may have some more? I heard from some teachers that they had 2 rounds, and when they went over there, by the time they got there, they were already out and told them they were on a waiting list.
I can check in the morning though.
Yeah, find out.
Real quick on this, this extension, it is retroactive to January the 1st. So, anyone through the month of January that had to quarantine, they would recoup those sick days that they had to use. So, do we have a motion to approve this? Motion by Larry Looper, is there a second? Second by Mr. Dial, Dr. Dial. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to the consent agenda. If no one has objection, I'm gonna go through all these and we'll, vote on those all at once. First one will be approval of fleet vehicle bids from Cooper Motor Company, price of $102,719. Approval of 1 double oven from Douglas Equipment, that'll be for Livingston Academy Cafeteria. Expense of $10,100.67. The quarterly reports were sent out in your packet. If anybody has any questions on those, we'll go over those. Approval of resignation of Allison Hull, effective 1/21/21. Letter of resignation from Jan Bettis, effective 12/7/2020. Letter of resignation from Denise Robinson, effective 12/15/2020. Approve an extension of medical leave for Carrie Alder from 11/3/2020 to 5/28/21. Approve a leave of absence from Christina Mullins from 2/1/21 to May 25th/21. And approve an extension of medical leave for Ms. Kay Kilman, from July 15th/2020 to April 5th/2021. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll say.
Motion by Mr. Rick Dodson, is a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion on this?
You have any idea when they will purchase the truck? I know we approved tonight, when they would be here, they might have any rough idea.
I'll call first thing in the morning.
Okay, and in this price, this is, and I gave you guys this information last time. This Cooper Motor Company, it is from out of state. This price is a delivered price, which is $30,000 cheaper than a local competitor.
And the oven, was the oven put out to bid as well as the bid?
Yes, that's correct.
It was a low bid?
Yes,
2 trucks and an SUV.
yes, that's correct. Approval of this will require a roll call vote. We could have that, please.
Bruce Hutchings,
Yes.
Mike Hayes,
Yes.
Dolphy Stout,
Yes.
Wayne Taylor,
Yes.
William Axton,
Yes.
Larry Luther,
Yes.
Mitch Stonecipher,
Yes.
Rick Dotson,
Yes.
Jarman Hicks,
Yes.
Mike Gilpatrick.
Yes.
10 yes. Motion carries.
Okay, now to the new business items. Consider approval of multi-year extension for our E&A contract. Dr. Holman has information for that as well.
Yes, I do. That is a really good thing. I feel very positive about that. Our ENA, our internet service provider is ENA, and, we have been paying them a monthly fee each year. But if we will sign a multi-year agreement with them, that they will quadruple the amount of instructional bandwidth that we have. A few years ago, I checked just to see how far we've come. A couple of years ago, we had 300 megabits of bandwidth, and that was pretty good. Well, now we've got 550, and I don't think we were experiencing a lot of problems even with the 550. But I do know there's a lot of teachers that are very concerned that if we ever go to online assessments, I know there's teachers that are concerned, and I was always concerned about this as well. But if we sign this contract, and I think it's gonna be a win for us, because they are gonna, like I said, quadruple our instructional bandwidth. And I think that will really ease the teachers' minds, the administrators' minds, that if we do an online assessments ever, we shouldn't have any problem with the bandwidth. So, I was really tickled with this, to see what that could do for our students and for our teachers. I know our teachers are really concerned that they will teach, and then when it comes testing time, if it's online, and then the computers mess up and it sits there and spins because of an internet bandwidth issue, they're gonna be, the teachers are gonna be very stressed, and I think that'll really cut down on their stress levels, so.
If I'm not mistaken, we ran into that problem that first year, and that's the reason we went to 550.
Right.
Was because we didn't have enough bandwidth the first year they done testing online.
Yeah.
So that would be good. Now, is this another 3-year agreement, or how many years is the agreement gonna be in place for? Do we know that?
I think it is 3.
3 years?
But if it's different than that, I'll let you know.
Okay.
It's no additional cost, it's just a multi-year agreement.
Yeah, it's the same price that we're paying now.
We've had E&A for quite some time, and they've always been Johnny on the spot.
Right.
They have a good track record.
They do.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Second, I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Mike Gilpatrick, second. Mr. Stonecipher. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Just
Aye.
here,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we do that, it does say right here, through June 30th, 2024.
2024, so we're currently under contract for the remainder of this year, 3 years. Okay, I'm sorry. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Special recognition, Ms. Islander?
Yes. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, I have to tell you that I prepared all weekend to come here and implore you to look into the possibility of waiving the kindergarten portfolios for our kindergarten students, for our kindergarten teachers, for this year because of the whole harmless year. And then today I found out that our interim director is 2 steps ahead of me. He's already working on that. So instead of imploring you to consider that, I'd like to thank you for taking that into consideration and doing that to help our kindergarten teachers out, because they're working so hard, and that portfolio it does nothing for the students, and that's what we're here for, to do for the students. So, other than that, I'm hearing a lot of great feedback about Dr. Holman. He's been sending out a lot of real positive, supportive message to the staff and to the faculty, and everybody really appreciates that, and just have nothing but the highest praise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Allen, if I could say something about the portfolio.
Yes.
We were given that option, the district was, so then I spoke with the supervisors, and we were all in agreement that would be a good thing. Anything we can do to take stress off in a pandemic time like this, so.
I can't tell you how much it is appreciated. I really thought the kindergarten teachers at Rickman were gonna dance all day today, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything for the meeting? With that said, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Motion by Wayne Taylor to adjourn. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Dawson. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Does anybody need to take a break or take 5 or anything? There's some items on the, work session. Let me see, did you get one of those, for the work session? No, for the work session. Right here. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
I got it.
Bruce, do you have one? Does everybody have one of these?
Did everybody get one of those?
The newest one? Yeah.
Don't add any more.
Well, give me one. I got some.
Okay.
Here you go.
Does everybody have that information? We're good. Dr. Holman had some, information to share with the board. As of right now, the only action was to be taken about on the ENA contract, and we just done that, so, go ahead, Terry.
This is more or less just an update of some information that I wanted you to be aware of. And I have given mine away that had all my sheet notes on it, so I'm gonna be going from memory here on this, okay? Which is perfectly fine, that's fine. Here you go, sir. I got this, here's my cheat sheet now, back, appreciate that. Okay, this TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, that's with the Volkswagen settlement grant, and you all may already know about that first item that I wanted to mention to you, but it is a really good thing. The county was awarded right at $160,000, and then we paid 50% of the cost of 2 buses this past school year, and they're now in operation. And it's my understanding we bought 3 buses, but we were able to pay, the 50% off came off of 2 of them. So that was a good thing that come through this grant. And, we'll be able to buy 2 additional buses this school year, this coming school year. It's my understanding the buses that we are interested in buying, the upcoming buses are gonna be special ed buses, and they're quite a bit more expensive. And this 50% will only come off of the price of a regular bus, but it'll still be very, very beneficial to the county. And then if you have any questions about that grant, I put that information in there next, so you can read over that if you'd like to. I know a few of you have mentioned to me the next thing that I have, which is that I wanted to talk to you about, is the Esser 2.0 fund. Everyone in education is talking about Esser. Well, that stands for Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief, is what that stands for. Back before Christmas, at the beginning of the year, we got the Esser 1.0 funds, And that money was used primarily for technology. All the schools got these large screens and additional Surface Pros, these small laptops and so forth, and that was used to help instruction for the students, especially that were virtual. That's what we used the 1.0 funds for. Now this Esser 2.0, which is what we're working on now, the main thing I wanted you all to know was how much money that Overton County would be receiving, and as you can see there, it's $2.7 million. And then this money is to be planned out, how we're gonna spend it, and the plan has to be submitted by March the 1st. So that's taking a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of planning to spend that in the best way. We wanna make sure that we use it as effectively as we can for our students. And then the timeline that this money is to be spent is through June 30th of 2023. The reason for that long period of time of spending it is you'll see down toward the bottom there, we're to have 3 years of summer school. So that this money will help with that. The allowable activities, one of the main ones is addressing the learning loss of our students, the learning that they have missed during this pandemic time. Also, new school facility repairs and improvements. I'll tell you one area there that we have looked at greatly is HVAC. We've got lots of air conditioning units, a lot of the very expensive units that are the rooftop type, very expensive. And when Johnson Controls, when we were introduced to them and we did a lot of work with them, you all did a lot of work with them, let me rephrase that. They gave us lots of information on our units, and they did like like an inventory of all of our units. And we are looking at spending some of this money to replace a lot of the older units, and that will just help our school system, help our quality, and help our students in that manner. So, but also a lot of this money will be used to address the learning loss of our students. The next thing that I have in the packet, we've already discussed and you all already voted on, which was the ENA and increasing our bandwidth, which I think is a really positive thing for our county. If you flip on to the next set of papers that I have here for you, it's the Twin Lakes Internet Service Contract. When this pandemic started back toward the end of March last year, and lots of students were going home and didn't have internet access at home, Twin Lakes contacted the school system, and I'm guessing like in April or May of last year. They were offering assistance to those that needed help with internet at home. And in the last couple of weeks, we've worked with them to make sure that the students at each school that need this assistance can have that. So I'm really glad that we got that accomplished. And surprisingly, there's not really as many as you would think in our district. So. The next bit of information I wanted to share with you is our attendance. It shows the first 5 reporting periods, and our attendance for this last reporting period that we have data on is 95.56%. That's good. That's really good in my opinion. And you can see the school with the best attendance is Hillham with 97.48%. We have numerous schools that have really good attendance. We would have to in order to have that good of a countywide number. But Mr. Sales does a good job with our attendance, and our schools do really good at encouraging our students to attend. I should have said if you want to have questions throughout this, I could answer questions, but instead I just run through them all. But But anyway, I'll take, if there's anyone got a question, we can talk about it here then. The next thing is the STEM certification. The Livingston Academy STEM certification. That's a process that began approximately 4 years ago. I did actually attend those initial meetings, about this. But the people, in my opinion, that have done the bulk of the work on this, is the committee at Livingston Academy. Richard Melton and Nate Kennard and Laura Jones, and if there's others on that committee that I'm leaving off, I hate that I'm not mentioning your name here, but that committee has really worked hard to gather the evidence needed, whether it be like a video or pictures or a write-up of some sort to show an activity that's going on at Livingston Academy. So that we have already gathered all that information, and then I contacted Connie Smith, who works with our STEM certification, and we have already set up review dates for Overton County. They're gonna be March 23rd through the 25th. And Dr. Connie Smith will be helping us with that virtually, along with the lady, Dr. Laura Lynn Rowland, and she's from Oak Ridge. So the review team will be doing this virtually, and when that is over and we've already paid our fees for that and so forth, hopefully by the end of the year we'll be STEM certified, and our students will have that STEM certification on their diplomas this year. That's what our goal is to have that. And like I said, I think that's been going on for a while, hasn't it?
Yes.
And on this last one, on this last thing that I wanted to share with everyone, I'm really proud of this. I wish I could say it was me doing this, but it wasn't at all me doing this. This is something that Ms. Teresa Johnson and numerous people in our community, area businesses and so forth, have worked in order to help our district to receive Tennessee Pathway certification. There's numerous, I've learned in my time here that there's numerous Tennessee pathways, but this one in particular is teaching as a profession. And we received that accreditation or recognition in the last week or so, and we're really proud of that. That should help our students to be better equipped to go right into post-secondary opportunities for those students that are interested in the teaching profession. And there's one thing about it, I can sure say this to the students of Overton County, that there should be jobs out there. If they're interested in teaching, there's plenty of jobs out there. Every school district that I know has a list of teachers that they're looking for. Years ago, it was always math teachers and physics teachers, but now there's all sorts of. Special education is a big area, counseling is a big area of need. So teaching is definitely an area that we need to encourage our students to be interested in. This is just a few things that I wanted to share with you that we're doing and that we're working on and that I've been working on in the last few weeks. And I feel like there's a lot of good things going on in Overton County, and I kind of just wanted to mention some of them.
I appreciate the focus on the students, the focus on the STEM certification that we've been working on. I really wish we could look at the middle school, 7th and 8th grade for STEM certification, because I know that we were rewarded some grants for the middle school, and I know that I'm going to brag on Hillham's program and Miss Ginger Neely for their accomplishments with her ECFIT program. So I think that's something that we could look at. That and this Tennessee Pathway certification are really opening up a student's ability to transition into the workforce with specialized training, either in I want to say vocational is an outdated term, but CTE.
Yeah. I've been cautioned, Mr. Gilpatrick, about the vocational term myself, so I know what you're talking about.
The CTE or
Right.
college bound, so I think it's great, the focus that we have on, allowing students to go on and transition out of our school system into a job or, a pathway.
And I know you all probably are, I don't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Gilpatrick.
No.
I know there's at least one other Tennessee Pathways program that Livingston Academy has, and I wanted to mention it a minute ago, but I was afraid I would say it incorrectly, but it's the health field, it's the one that.
Health science.
Health science, yeah, the health science field, and I know that one is just a very impressive program too, that is really doing a lot of help for our students. It's really a good thing. If you ever, have a chance to stop by and see all the good things going on in that program, I would encourage you to do so. It is a very impressive field with, and I'll just be honest, the reason I know a little bit about it, my daughter has gone through that, and she comes home and tells me this and that, and I was very impressed with it even before I found out the details of it. So, there's a lot of good things going on in our high school.
And I'd like to kind of reiterate on the Esser that we talked about. I met with Dr. Hallman on the HVAC units. So number one, we got our first year, energy savings back. It was actually the first partial year that, we did, once they did all the work. The estimated savings, I think, was like $76,000 for the first partial year. We ended up saving 92, so, great job on that aspect. So hopefully the next one we get will be the first full year, which will be tremendous amount of savings. Then unless something changes, I mean, we're looking at upgrading 33 units. We pulled Ed in when we had the conversations and talked about the areas where they have the most concern and most maintenance issues on the HVAC. You know, Rickman had 7, AH had 9, I think it was 16. Then we took 17 more to try to spread it out across all the schools. So unless something changes and there's different direction, then we'll take care of the 9 at AH, the 7 at Rickman. Then every other school in the district, we're gonna go ahead and replace the rooftop units for the gymnasiums. That way, now that the kids can go in the gym, if it's not warm outside, they can't go get fresh air outside when they're playing in the gym, they'll have fresh air availability in there. So that'll take care of 33 of the units. Then once we do that, I'll knock that off of the total number, then we'll kind of reevaluate what we need to do going forward as far as replacing some of these year after year, so.
And I know that, the Esser money is gonna take care of a lot of the proposals that I had, but I would still like to see this board move in some way and give something back to the teachers in the school systems, because the schools, because they have not had any fundraisers of any type this year, and when it comes next year, they will definitely be hurting for money for different things that they need for the classrooms. And I'm sure Ms. Hollander can speak to that
Yeah.
it is gonna hit very hard next year with no fundraising being done this year, and
I think, and I don't wanna speak out of turn here, I think once, the allotments are allowed, or set, and we have some kind of ballpark idea, maybe where we'll be with those monies, that's gonna put us into close to our last quarter, so we should get ballpark numbers where we'll be, so hopefully, like William says, we can, do something. Whether that's instructional, however, we gotta work that out, we do need to.
Go ahead, sorry.
No,
One thing to look at in the future, when we start looking at budget for next year, I think you and I discussed this as well, and I asked Wayne for some data. Right now, when we did the tech trip for the homeschool, converted over to go through tech trip online, I know right now with all the COVID, there's a lot of options as far as the virtual learning, but in the future, I think we need to look at upping that number. Right now, we've got the availability for 100 students. I think the last number he gave me was like there's 37 more that's on the waiting list. And I just double checked to make sure that that's not 37 students just wanting to go from school to homeschool. And he told me that that was 37 students that was in homeschool waiting to go. So I think when we start looking at budget, we kind of look and try to, I know we gotta pay a little bit up front for that, then you kind of recoup that GEP on the back end. I think we need to look at that option as far as opening that up to, you know, if it's 125 or 150 or whatever that number may be.
Well, and another thing to go with that is we also, I think, need to look into, I know there's a company that does it for the high school, because I think Tech Prep is only to the 8th grade. And there are some people that have homeschool, they're doing homeschool in the high school, that we need to look into, see if we can find a company so they can continue, and we can continue to reap those rewards.
One company that comes to mind that does go K through 12 is the Edgenuity. I've not studied that much lately on it, but to know if there are others, but that would give us the 9 through 12 ability to homeschool and recoup that in the same way that we do the tech.
And I didn't know that those 37 additional kids, he didn't tell me the grade levels.
Well, I know we'll have to vote on it down the road for budgeting reasons, but, do we wanna plan on whatever the next allotment is, whether it be 152, whatever that next allotment is, do we wanna try to go ahead and allot for that?
I think we should.
Yes, I agree.
Alright. Anybody else have anything for the work session?
As soon as this is over, I'm gonna meet with the building committee. The ones that were on the building committee, anybody else that wants to stay can feel free. I'm gonna cover this football field stuff.
The only other thing there is I wanted to ask, what position Mark had been moved into and what the job description was of that position. I could get that.
Mark has been moved into a countywide virtual liaison position. So what he's doing basically is he's helping all the schools with any virtual instruction problem that may arise. I know like today, he sent me an email today for parents that contacted him, so we conversed about that. And he has also talked to me about the process that parents you have to get supplies from the schools and so forth. So he's helping to make all that a smoother, he's helping to be the go-between between the two.
All right.
We are honoring his contract and paying him his salary
Yes, sir.
for the remainder of the contract.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Mr. Cagle, our attorney, as long as, Dr. Winningham is employed with us until the end of that term, yes, he will be allotted that money. You are correct. Yes, sir.
I have 2 things.
Okay?
One of them, I've been approached, and have you got them papers?
I do you want them?
Yeah, I had 2 teachers approach me about a buyout. Of course, I don't know the last time we done that, I think we said we weren't gonna do it for 3 to 5 years, I don't remember exactly. Here's a pay scale of up to 20 years. And I done this little math on it, this thing, I come talk to Dr. Holman yesterday, and he gave me a breakdown, I can't get them apart. Of this, if you'll look at the it pays the doctrine, educational assistant, master's plus 30, and a bachelor. Now, like I said, I broke it down, I didn't know if it was a possibility, I just told them I would ask tonight, and on a work session, like, on a BS, the starting salary is $36,000. After 20 years, it's $42,900. That is a $6,900 increase over 20 years. Same thing for the masters, it was $7,775 difference. And the EDS was $11,847, and the doctrine was $13,790. And of course, it gradually goes up, the salary goes up every year. And I know before we'd give a little money as an incentive if they was gonna leave. And sometimes it saves us money, sometimes it really don't. But I told them I'd say something to the board about it tonight and address it.
William, were you the chairman when we done the last buyout, or was it Mr. Goodpatrick?
I don't recall.
I think Mike was.
Yeah.
I believe it was Mike.
Do we have a committee for that?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we did.
We
I
didn't
think
have no
what we
committee.
did is, the director actually kinda done some work to kinda figure out the anticipation, that if we were to offer a buyout, how many people would retire? That way we can kinda put a number to it.
How many positions we
Cause if you got 3 or 4, then you're paying out 30, 40,000, but if you got 15 or 20.
Well, the reason I asked who was chairman was because I was trying to remember, we talked about this the other day, I was trying to remember if we said it was gonna be 3 years or 5 years before we done another 5. Does anybody remember?
I couldn't remember, I could go back and look through my paperwork.
Sure, it was either 3 or 5, and that's why I asked which one you, if it was Mr. Gilpatrick, the 3-year would be up, I believe, or close to it.
Yeah.
So, I guess that'd be up to us, we just wanna kind of have Dr. Holman fill out there and see if there's enough interest in it, or,
Well, I think they were there too, and, go back through the minutes to find out when
Sure.
the last time was, and so we can know.
sure.
When was the last buyout, and who's interested, who would possibly be interested?
Yes.
And you don't have to tell us names, it's just a number.
Yes, we're just looking for that.
Then we kinda have to say how much we would pay on that, that kind of.
And I guess we need to extend that to the support staff also.
Yes, we did.
We
the
did
last
the time
time.
We did it last time, yeah.
That's correct.
I had 2 teachers that approached me and asked. And I had one more was a girls' LA softball field, they wanted to do some updates, they wanted to build either a block wall, fascia blocks, 3 to 4 blocks high from the home dugout to the visitors dugout. And they're wanting to put up like 3 new posts, and they have no netting in behind the fence is real, you know, Jarvis, you've been there. Any foul ball goes over into Doc Mason's mud hole, in where they're feeding cattle, and, they kinda want a little help, which I asked, Dr. Meyer West today over at TCAT, if their building trades could lay blocks, you know, if they done that. She said she'd check in and call back tomorrow. I called Dr. Holman today and told him about it. And they just want a little help with it. I just like to see if we could extend and help them just a little over. Maybe they get the blocks donated and somebody donated, I think, to dig the footer for them and go from there.
When you say help, what kind of help you talk, monetary help?
Yes, with the netting to keep the balls from going over in the field and probably they'll have to have 3 metal poles about extending the net on up where the balls won't go over backwards out on everything.
What I would personally like to do, and this is just me, my opinion, if we're gonna do something like that, I would rather wait till the end of the year, to see what monies we have to go to the schools, and then if we're gonna do something like that, we would give money to, more than just one, team or field, because I know the athletics was hurt as well through Corona with limited crowds and that type of thing, so,
And that goes back to the no fundraising thing.
Sure,
Get that
absolutely.
fundraising again.
And we got baseball.
no concessions. Yes, we did do heat for the baseball, so,
They weren't really asking for it, and they know they probably couldn't
Sure.
be done with this season, but they wanted
sure,
to see if we could
absolutely.
work something in.
So, that would be, that's my personal preference. I'm not opposed to it. I wanna help every group we can. As a lady told me once, without, the student, there'd be no student athlete, so I wanna start at the school, I personally wanna start at the schools before we branch out any further, if we can. But with that said, if we do branch out for sports, I'd like to help each in some way. But with that said, as we come closer to budget time, toward the end where we know monies, and then they would know more, they would have more ballpark, what it's gonna cost, then I guess we'd also talk about it. That's just my opinion, that's not speaking for the board.
Well, and that goes back to the last part of my proposal where I wanted to do the in-house grant system. We could do that, and it could allow those teams to apply also and get stuff that they need.
With them being spring sports, there's no way to get done by spring, by the time they start playing. So. Anybody got anything else?
Let me ask a question. Dr. Holman, we mentioned his salary a while ago. He is on the director's salary scale. to be paid what he's lawfully entitled to, based on.
What he is legally entitled to, yes. Our board attorney, recommended it be comparable to, Dr. Winningham. So was how that was drafted through the, contract,
Okay,
so.
okay.
But yes, what, will be
So
legally
does the
entitled.
job and he gets paid.
I'm fine, it's off just a tiny bit, but I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Could I give y'all some numbers real quick? I meant to do this earlier, but, we have, our quarantine, our COVID numbers, I thought while we're all together, I'd give that out to you real quick. We have 51 students that are quarantined, 4 that are positive in the whole district. 1 teacher quarantined, 2 positive, and 2 staff that are quarantined and 0 positive. So it looks like our numbers are going in the right direction. That always makes you feel better.
Mr. Stonehouse, you have anything?
No, this discussion about the, air conditioner units and things, when we get ready to meet for our retreat and we start working on our 5-year plan, I would like for us to take the facilities portion of that and make sure that we address these things in the future, that we have a plan for how we're going to replace things instead of waiting to where we have to replace 33 at a time. Because COVID monies are not gonna be available in the future like they are right now. And so I would like for us to plan ahead and to have them on a rotation system. And I think that needs to be addressed, using SMART goal system in our plan and make sure that we have that addressed in the future, that we know 3 years down the road, we're gonna replace 5 units or 10 units or whatever the case may be, and be prepared for it.
I've got that plan laid out, and before these 33 were brought up, it was like on a 17 per year rotating basis, and over a 15-year period, I think it's gonna replace all of them. So I've got that drawn up whenever we get ready to do
And I'd
that.
like to see that put in I'd like to see that
Yeah.
in the plan so that it would be, and I'd like to see that plan on our website so it'd be available for the public to access, so that they know, what our business acumen is.
I agree with you, it is easier to do a little bit at a time, as opposed to just trying to replace 150 units all at once. So I think it's 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Looper, you have anything? Bruce? Good? Okay. Last thing, and we'll be done. Mention our board retreat. We pushed that off, we talked about it in the fall, we pushed it off to the spring. I know things are starting to get a little more relaxed, but there are still restrictions, and that the virus is still, here. Do we want to try to meet in April timeframe, or does everyone want to try to wait till maybe June?
I prefer to do it in June when it gets hotter weather, and maybe this virus gets more and more people gets vaccinated.
Makes no
That's-
difference.
that's just me.
Yeah, whatever the majority wants to do is what we'll do.
I'm fine with you.
We can get outside, whatever.
Okay. All right. We'll take that back up shortly then. If nobody has anything else, we'll call it a night. Thank everybody for coming.